Jolly good morning to you, Nancy.
Hey, Stacy. Hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody. This is the Tuesday Show. My name is Stacy, and today we have an amazing, very special VIP guest. Her name is Nancy Georges. Is that correct?
Perfect.
Georges, yes.
George with an S.
George with an S. And look, she has been doing saving businesses' butts for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So today is the Tuesday Show. This show is always about helping you step up and maybe, just maybe, the day today. Today is going to be the day that you actually do something brave, take a big stance, make today a day worth remembering. Today is Tuesday. And so today, if you're an entrepreneur, we're going to help you hack through some of those limiting beliefs. We're going to help you take a big step forward. And if you've got any questions, catch us on the Facebook Live that just went up on my profile, Stacy in Henderson. Ask a few questions, and we will answer them there on the day. So, Nancy,
Yeah.
you've been doing what you do for quite a long time. You want to give us a bit of an intro into some of your favorite things or what you do and how you do it?
Love to. I have been in business for 30 years. I started very young, 10 years old. No.
Did they have businesses 30?
They did, believe it or not, before the internet businesses existed.
Wow.
So I actually started in retail. So what was Maya? It was Grace Brothers, and I was a cadet. Learnt customer service from the face up, right? Like
Yes.
how to talk to people, how to answer questions, customer service is problem solving, all of the good basic fundamentals with people that have been retailing for hundreds of years, basically. And we ended up, I ended up working for a manufacturer, small family business, and
Right.
vowed never to do that again. But learnt heaps, right? Learnt about manufacturing, importing, exporting. I used to go to trade shows overseas. I used to negotiate deals with suppliers, manufacturers. And then I started my own wholesale business because I thought, I can do this better.
And so how long was it until you started your own wholesale business?
So I started, so I'd been working, so I started working in the late 80s, and I started my own business in 2004. So a good sort
Right.
of like nearly 15, 17 business years working in different businesses.
Yeah.
And then 2004 started my own wholesale. And it's funny because at the time I thought I could do wholesale better, not realizing I could actually help businesses do it better. I wanted to be a good wholesaler to help retailers, which was a very 2004 way to think. Within sort of 18 months, I realised, and the internet was emerging, so I'd started my business with a web page, I'd started with all the right sort of things, and within sort of 18 months, I realised I wasn't making the same money I was making before. I had a mortgage, I had a car payments, I had all the things that people have, but I wasn't enjoying it because all I was doing was packing boxes as a wholesaler, right? That's all you
Right.
do. So I
Well,
then...
that doesn't sound very glamorous.
It wasn't.
Packing
But-
boxes.
And I had a, you know the thing?
Licking stamps.
We set up this whole warehouse. Well, it was. Like
Really?
packing boxes and taping and going, deliveries and all the frustrations. But then as a wholesaler, I was helping my retailers, my customers, solve their problems. So I'd install products, I'd help them with launches, I'd get databases for them, I'd train their staff. So in fact, I was a good wholesaler consultant helping their business, not just
Very
a good wholesaler
cool.
packing boxes.
So therefore, your interest in their business was so that they were in a position to buy more product. So if you helped their business, then they got to grow, and therefore they ordered more through you.
Absolutely.
So
And
you kind of accidentally evolved into a coach of some description.
yeah.
That's great.
What's funny, and I've read and heard a lot of what you've said, not a bit of what you've said. And it's funny how you fall into what you fall into without realizing you've fallen into it.
Yep.
So I thought that being a wholesaler was how I could help.
Yep.
But then, being a wholesaler is also I had a massive, well, not massive, but it was a big warehouse in Annandale. I had monthly bills. All of that stuff was getting in the way of me doing my job. But what I did realize was a lot of my retailers would say to me, I can tell that you've trained so-and-so because I just heard your words back when she was talking to the customer, So you sort of went, hang on a minute, maybe I can just do that bit. But I worked with a coach to get me to my realisation. And my mother and the coach, literally in the same day, on the way to the coach, because my mum used to help in my wholesale business,
Yeah.
Mum said, why don't you just be a consultant? Why don't you help them with their business? And I was like, nobody's going to pay me to do it. I do it for free, and I just got in my own way. And I constantly, for the next so that was 2007, 6-7. So pretty much I would say for the next 10 years I got in my own way. But it really was something that I had to get my head around to be paid my worth. Because I kept getting told about my worth often, but I just didn't feel it in that sort of way. But then I also didn't, to do the wholesale business just because didn't make sense either. So we literally, 2007, end of the year, we went, okay, we're going to shut this down, 2008. And we literally downgraded our warehouse. We moved warehouses 2 weeks before GFC hit. And in that period of trying to figure out what to do, I had, thank God, hey, but I had another coach come to me, which was really interesting because I interviewed these coaches and went, don't look at this beautiful showroom here in Annandale. Don't look at my warehouse. Just look at me and my skill base and tell me what you think I should do. And it was hilarious because probably 8 of the 13 bought me people to open shops with.
Ah.
So they were like, you know what, Nancy, you should open your own stores. Don't worry about being a wholesaler. And I've always wanted to open a beautiful stationery store. But then one woman, Dominique Bertolucci, shout out to Dominique. You're the best. She was the one that said, you need to sort of go out on your own, be a consultant.
Yes.
Change sort of what you do. So I still don't think it even made sense in my head, but it was a great option and a great thing to do. Went to Melbourne, thinking about it, going, should I do it? So that was July. She said that to me. Went to Melbourne for trade fairs in August, and I started to use this thing called Facebook. I know, in the time when Facebook was new.
What year was this, sorry?
2007.
2007.
So I actually, because I had a lot of suppliers in the
Innovator.
US.
One of the early adopters even.
I try everything first. Yeah. Well, I had a lot of friends and suppliers in the US. So they were using this thing called Facebook.
Sure.
Let's stay connected on this, Nancy, so we can talk to each other. I like to connect. So I was like, yep, let's do it. So did that in 2007. And one of my retailers was like, I saw that you're using this thing called Facebook. Could you help me, Nance? And I was like, sure, I could help you. So I literally came back from that trip 2 weeks after I had this conversation with Mum and Dominique, with people going, hey, I'll pay you to help me with my Facebook. And literally I just went, you know what?
Right from the beginning, huh?
Well, but then what you do, you go into the business and you go, you need to fix. There's a few other things you need to fix. Because I call social media your going out dress, right? Like when you're in digital and social, you have to look your best. You have to have brushed your hair. You have to have, put your phone on silent and put your good clothes on. And that's your best foot forward. You can't go there and try and limp along and figure it out because it looks messy to customers.
Yeah.
So I found a lot of people were reaching me at that stage, but I was like, hang on a minute, buddy, why don't we actually just fix your wardrobe? Find your clothes and then put them on you. And that's literally how my consulting business, and then from word of mouth, I grew the business. That was a very long description, wasn't it?
Well, look, I think, there's a couple of good things that we can come back to as the show goes on, but one of the things, like right at the beginning, you mentioned how you were doing your business and you were doing the wholesaling thing, and just by doing what you saw as being an opportunity, and maybe as you were working in the previous retailers, you saw the opportunity as a wholesaler, you went out and did the wholesaling thing, and then just by being exposed or involved in other people's businesses, you saw what they needed and you just helped and like you served the community. That is exactly what I continually say over and over and over. Yeah. And our entire business model, when it comes to our clients, especially the ones that go into our annual program, the whole point is to identify their existing skill set. Not to come up with some whole new business idea. Yes, is to identify what they're already good at, and then get them to just help people with that. And then what I guess the industry standard term is the upsell products will evolve. They will surface. They will show themselves. So for me, I'd done some really nice life design processes through personal development. I designed my life. It worked. I had this epic lifestyle where I was traveling the world and didn't have to worry about money, and I had all these great friends, and my life was just wonderful. Yeah. And people were like, well, how did you do that? So I started running this life design workshop. Because I ran the life design workshop over and over and over for a number of years, it was very clear that for people to get the life they wanted, because I was in the driver's seat in this workshop, and I get to see all these wonderful people choosing these fabulous goals for the next 5 years, but for them to get that, they need two things. They need to sort out their money, and they need to start a business. Now, if I hadn't just gone out there and helped, like you did with your wholesaling stuff, I wouldn't have identified those upsell products, those coaching opportunities. And so now that's, those are the three sections. There's the life design, there's the money stuff, and there's the business stuff. And they just came from serving first. And it's great to hear that that's how you evolved as well. Very cool.
And it's funny you say that, because my mother actually said, you are the only person you're not helping is yourself. And she really was like, and I got to design product see my product in real life. I got to sell product. I sold designs overseas. Like I sort of ticked a lot of personal goals, but in terms of, and absolutely what you're saying, in terms of getting the money right to support the other stuff, I wasn't doing that.
Right.
And it's funny because I thought I was being fulfilled, and I realized that, I am doing the right thing by other people, and I needed to sort of flick that back onto myself.
Yes.
So that's when I made that tough decision. But I'm a chronic helper. I will always help people. I will always be of service because I think that's so good for the soul. But it's
Makes
a
it
really
feel good,
great,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's not money; it's feeling good. That's, that's the objective of business. I'll say that one more time. The purpose of having a business is to have a great lifestyle so that you feel good. And so many people get caught up in money.
Oh my God!
It's not about the money, the lifestyle. The money facilitates good lifestyle, yes, so it's important. But the priority is lifestyle. The priority is to sleep well. I can't remember who said that. That was one of my favorite quotes. There was someone like Sigourney Weaver or some super famous woman.
Really?
And the question was, what's your definition of success? And she said, a good night's sleep. And
oh God, so true, right?
Nothing trumps that.
You
if you sleep well every night, that's it. You're doing it right.
You can't function if you don't sleep well.
And if you're doing it right, your sleep is great. You have beautiful dreams of unicorns and rainbows, and it's just wonderful,
So true.
I think it's lovely.
So
It's
true.
a really nice little simple summary.
And you look at, like, at the end of the day, I lost one of my closest friends to a weird random accident last September, and it really does make you focus on yourself and go, I need to live my best. And I know everybody says my best life, but that's exactly what it is. It's not I need to make $1 million by the end of the year. It's I need to live the best life for whatever time I've got.
Yeah. And
I think that's the repriority that a lot of business owners need to do. Like I've started this new sort of training focus for my business. I'm sort of relaunching myself. And one of the biggest things I've found, Stacey, is that people are like, do you have like something I can do after work? Can I log into you after work? And it's like, no, you can't. Like, you need to work on your business, in your business, during your business hours. And, so many people go, oh, what? I can't because I'm so busy at work. But it's like, but we're working on your business. And, you know, and that's my thing too. I don't want my clients to go, oh, that's another thing I've got to do. Or I want them to do it in that time. I want their spare time to be their spare time.
Absolutely.
And I very specifically say to people, hand on heart, I want you to have a good life, but I'm not a life coach. I'm very specific. I help with business. And there's people who help you with your life who do it far better than I do. But you have to recognize in your business it's not a 24/7 thing. And if it is, then you're doing it wrong. And I think I love that. I'm going to say that to everybody now. Our objective is to sleep well.
Yeah.
Then you work well.
And the coach I've been with Tacky Moore, if you've heard of him.
Yes, I have.
Black belt, really amazing coach. And we had what do you call it? It was like every 3 times a year they have this conference thing, right?
A retreat.
And it was in Manly, and it was we've had it in Melbourne, in Gold Coast, in LA, and like various other places. But this one was in Manly, and there's about 100 people in the room, and everybody was asked. So here's the schedule, guys. Do you think we should continue to do? Oh no, that's right. He always does they're called intensives on the Thursday and the Friday. And then the people in the gold class kind of membership, they do a Saturday session. But the majority of everybody is just Thursday and Friday. And so everybody around the room was also designing their calendar for the year to come.
Yeah.
And so everybody's kind of replicating the same system as him because he's figured it all out, right? And so we're all sitting around on this table, and everyone was kind of, one of the questions that came up was, which day do we want to do our intensive? And, people were throwing around Saturday, Sunday, oh, my clients will be available Saturday and Sunday. And Tacky was walking around listening, and he's like, guys, I just want to stop everybody here. He goes, don't make your clients work on Saturday and Sunday, okay? You're supposed to help them have a good life, so don't make them work Saturday and Sunday. And for me, being in the so-called entrepreneur thing, being self-employed for a very long time, there has been many times when I'm so excited about my business that there really is nothing else in my life, and that's fine, whatever. But nowadays, my business is quite mature. We know what we're doing. We have the system set up, all those sorts of things. And so I'm in a place now for the last year. In fact, I kind of punched it in the face last winter, where I was working, and I got to a point where I was like, you know what, F this, and I literally stopped for 3 months in the middle of winter, and I just hung out with my mates. And I was, the Tim Ferriss moment where he's just like, screw this, I'm going overseas. I had one of them. And it turned out it was great because instead of me pushing or pulling for clients and people and stuff to work with, because I just disappeared, everyone was like, "Oh, hey man, where are you? I was wondering if you could do that thing." And I was like, "Oh wow, there's momentum." I didn't know there was momentum in what I was doing. And I got to really sit back and refresh. And nowadays, I really do Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Oh, it's actually like 11 till 4. With a big break in the middle.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's why, like, I teach life design. I've got to have my life good, you know? And it's, by the way, if you haven't got your business idea yet, and if you're kind of inventing where you're at and you're still in that molding phase, really think about the way you structure it and how that's going to be in 5 years, you know? If your business is called life design, that gives you permission to go to Burning Man every year. If your business is called life design, it gives you permission to just party and have a good time, because you need to live what you're talking about. So, you know, think about that. Think about that. Really think about that at these early phases.
I don't know. Have you also found that, like for me, I've had I have fibroids, big ugly fibroids. I never knew what they were until September.
I still don't know.
Well, they're basically a big growth in your belly, and that your body just keeps feeding it at the expense of your energy and your clarity and your time. And so for me, I think I should have done what you did. And my body and the universe went, you know what, Nancy, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it for you. And I often find that when you don't take that time out, then illness or something does it for you. Yeah. When you're not in your flow, is so true, right? Where you go, you know. And for me, I really needed to recalibrate what I'm doing, but I was just too busy doing. And people kept saying, can you do this for me? And I really realized that I wasn't the master of my own design. I was sort of doing what people were doing as they were coming to me. So I wasn't looking for my business on purpose, for my purpose to meet my needs. So that really resonates with me, where I was like, I wish I had actually gone, you know what, I'm going to take that time, and not being made to take the time. Yeah.
Well, look, I think the word is caveat. There is a little asterisk next to my statement, my previous statement. I do have a passive income. I can stop when I want. I don't have to do what I do. You know, and then I can't remember who it is. I think it might be Robert Kiyosaki. It's one of those great authors. He talks about having the difference between what my Pova, the company that helps people get out of their shitty jobs and have a great life. That is my passion business. That's what I totally am all about. That's my life mission, you know. Yeah. But then at the same time, 8 or 9 years ago, I set up another business, which is a cash cow. And so when you have a business like that, such as your warehouse, I was thinking, I'm surprised that you closed your warehouse down, because you could have now, with your wisdom now, you know, you could have automated, put a staff member in there and created a cash cow and just nurtured that, right? So I spend 5 weeks at the most on my cash cow, and that pays for my life, which enables me to just serve and do stuff and take my time and, you know, joyfully evolve what I'm doing here. Yeah. So, you know, that's a bit different. And I do advise people, if they have a career, in fact, when we do this niche discovery process with people, we always look for the cash cow that's going to pay the bills, you know, to make sure that the costs are covered, so that they can peacefully pursue new clients and honor the values and integrity and honor the true purpose of the business by not having to say yes to every client because they need to pay the bills, right? So I'm sure you've been through a process like that, right?
You know, it's interesting.
To compromise the values of the business is a bad thing to do.
And I think that's luckily for me, I have a great partner who I work on his business, jpbrickwork.com.au if you need a bricklayer. Local.
JP Brickwork, what a great URL. JP Brickwork, did you say?
Yes, I did say JP Brickwork. Thanks, Jason Purcell, he's the best bricklayer, honestly. But he's and again, you know, since we've been together, I've been working on his business, and I do stuff for his business. And what you think is a love job is the job, right? And I was lucky because I was able to take a step back, and my partner did step up. Now, for me, it was the first 3 months were hell, because for me, I've always been independent. I've always looked after myself. And I had this whole thing of woman being saved by a man, and I had this whole ridiculous thing in my head where I just had to let it go and go, what a gift I have. I still work, like, you know, his business takes 2 days a week for us, but just in paperwork and admin. But I have had that space to do my own thing. But just to your point, a friend of mine she also wanted to change what she was doing. She went and worked in a retail store for 6 months because that way she was like, right, I don't have to think. I'm earning some money.
Absolutely.
But then I have the freedom to do the space. So there's, you know, it looks like different things to different people, but I think it's really, like, I can't, it's timely. Like, us talking today is really timely for me. Looking at things where you do really create the life that you want to live. I'm an inner Westie at heart, but Jason's English, so all English people think Bondi, Sydney.
Yeah.
So we live here now. And, it took me, the first sort of 6 months, I was like, are you kidding me? I went to the fruit shop near my mum. I did all the things. Whereas now I embrace, we live in an amazing place and there's great people and the vibe's amazing. And I feel like I'm on holidays every day when I leave the house. And so now I embrace it. But it took me a long time to get that whole, this is not what I want. This is, it took a long time to do the change. And for my own business, I did, in a way, had to let go of that whole sort of wholesale model at the time because I nearly lost my house. I left with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt.
Right.
Which took me 8 years to pay off. But I didn't, people just go bankrupt. I was like, no. I spoke to these people, I shook their hand, we did a deal, finally paid it all off. Took a long time. But for me, the pain of transition, having survived that, I can help my clients with that. And a lot of people, my transition was real. Well, not real, but my transition was literally physical. I moved house, I had to rent my beautiful little home out, all that sort of stuff. For other people, transition could just be letting go, incorporating digital, putting a website, but all of those, change is different things to different people. And I find a lot of people refuse to make change because they feel the trauma. So I feel like because I had that sort of transition period, I can help somebody put it into perspective and manage through it. Do you know what I mean?
Cool, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? To recognize the trials and tribulations from our past and convert them into, extract the wisdom, really, is what, how I like to see it. You can sit around and sulk about how sad it was, or you can really, and I don't think there's a better way. Literally get out a keyboard or a pen and paper and just write 10,000. I've said this stuff to so many people, and no one really takes this advice. I've the 3 businesses, and trust me, I'm a very creative person. I have had countless ideas, but the 3 businesses that are still in my life today, that are still rock solid, are the ones that I've written 20,000 words on, hands down, because I tap into what they really are.
Writing that down. Look.
Yeah, and 20,000 words isn't easy, but if you love it, and you got to love it for it to last, that just get out the keyboard, and it's just called whatever the business name is, and I just vomit onto the page, and I get everything out, and then they become, I can extract chunks from that for, they can be social media posts, they can be products, products and ideas come out of that. I mind map the hell out of it, and I most people, they have a business, and for a lot of people, they actually haven't sat down for an entire day and thought about what it is they're doing. And then, I understand. I'm in the same world. We're always busy doing urgent stuff. But to really, and most people don't do that for their life too, which is just a whole different level of social insanity that I am out to attack.
Well done.
If people just don't plan their life. They don't think about what am I doing here.
Yeah.
But with their business, they kind of have these sporadic, inspired thoughts, and then they act on them, and then most of them fizzle into nothing, so it was wasted energy, and the other ones, they just end up with all this, like a tree with all these spastic branches off the side, and it's like, no, what's the purpose, dude? What are you trying to do here? What's the vision? And get clear to it.
I normally mind map, but I've never done the brain dump. And I think, sorry, Mike.
And keep it live.
I like
the documents on my, it's a quick tab that I can open and just jot down.
Do you use Dropbox
constantly.
paper? Have you discovered?
I just have a
Dropbox
Google
paper?
Doc. Just Google Doc, and it's just named. I have all sorts. I use Google Docs quite well. I have all these different ways
I
of
like
using
that a lot. Well, we actually, even though I live with my partner and we work on his business, we actually have to get away, and I have to lock him somewhere for 2 days, or we can go to the Hunter Valley, or we actually talk about the business when we're not at home and not bogged down in all of it. And I do that with a couple of clients as well, because I find that, and for some people they can't do a month away, but you can definitely do 2 days out of your business. And when I showed him the mind map first, he was like, I'm a bricklayer, and I was babe, but this is how it all sort of fits. And it's funny because a lot of things didn't fit until they actually played out for him, but I had the plan, but I needed him to buy into the plan. And for myself, with this new business, it's so funny, right? Because I've actually spent 3 months mind mapping, re-mind mapping. That's not perfect. I've got to get it right. And last week, I just looked in the mirror and said, get over it, sister. Just do it. Do it and refine it. Because I have this really great plan, but I think I would like to sit down and do 20,000 words around it to get some clarity. Even after we spoke yesterday, I even sat down and for an hour and went, I need to actually write who I want to talk to in this new part of my business, because
Sure.
I wasn't clear when we were talking
who
on
is
the
it?
phone. It is business people, existing businesses who are struggling with staff, who are struggling with searching product, manufacturing product,
That's enough.
getting digital.
Yeah, that's
That,
enough.
just
Street.
that, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's and digital integration. People, you know, so many businesses we're seeing in Instagram where they've got 26,000 followers or 100,000 followers, and they're closing their businesses down
Yeah.
because followers don't equal income,
No,
you
that's
know?
right.
So it's funny, Stacey, like I thought I was really clear until we talked yesterday. So I love that, because I think that when you write down, even if you longhand write it, you're getting it out and looking at something in real life, not just what you have. And mind maps really come from that. You're right.
Yeah, I love
Thanks.
mind maps. Yeah, no, it's I have a process where you can identify and really hone in on your target market. Like, we want one avatar.
Yeah.
And I've probably talked about this on every radio show that I've done, but the objective is to have one avatar. Like, I can tell you exactly who I'm looking for in my business. Her name is Janet. She's 27 years old.
Yeah.
She lives somewhere in the eastern suburbs, probably in Bronte. She does yoga a few times a week. She's done the occasional detox. She looks after herself. She makes decent money. She earns around $100,000 a year. She went to school, did well. She went to uni and did well. She got a degree. She ended up in an office job, some good office job, maybe in something like Westpac or Telstra. Her parents are still together. She has a great relationship with her parents. Everything's lovely. She lives in a share house. And then one day, at around 27, 28, maybe 29, 28 generally, she went to a yoga retreat. One of her friends was like, hey, you should go to this yoga retreat. And she had this inkling, yeah, you know what, I'll do that. And she went to a yoga retreat, and she sat around with all these different people who weren't office people. They're not corporate people.
Yeah.
And they got and she listened to these people, and most of them, or half of them, were self-employed. And they were beautiful, lovely, open-hearted, connected people. And she just was like, wow, this is an incredible world. She went back to work on Monday. She looked around the office, and she no longer fitted into that box. And she realized that she did everything right. At school, at home, in her diet, and the way she lives, she's a good girl. And a good girl has landed her in a box. And it's not getting the life that she wants. And she's not traveling the world, and she's not inspired, and she's not making a difference. And all she does is push buttons to print paper that makes some big corporation rich so they can take advantage of people and damage the environment. And when she realizes that, there's no way to undo that seeing. That's my avatar.
Do you know,
That's who I'm looking for. And everyone needs to get that clear on who they're out to serve.
I love that, because I think that too, you'll know her when you see her.
Oh, I see.
You won't have.
Yeah, you
I
betcha.
love that.
I love it when they
it's
walk in the room.
So
It's
interesting
great.
that you say that, though, because so I went to an all-girl high school, and I loved school. I loved school. I was a good girl. Like,
Yeah, right.
But I wasn't. So when I got to year 12, I knew that my mum had put me through school, single parent, and through a very good high school, and I didn't want her to pay for uni, but I wanted to go to uni. So I said to my careers developer, Mrs. Flower, God love you, Mrs. Flower. I know we've had this flat since then. But I said to her, okay, I need to work, but I want to go to uni as well. What do I do? And so, you know, all girls school, 1986, 87. And it was a time when, what options did we have? It was always, but my school was not about, you know what, girls, you will not sew, you will not cook, you will do the sciences, you will do the sport. I was very lucky. And she put me in contact with the cadetship. And I was
Sure.
like, being a manager, working in Grace Brothers, no. And I did it. And it was amazing for me because it didn't put me into that cookie cutter sort of setup.
Right.
But that was probably more of an anomaly, because from there I had no blueprint from that. And I think what you're building is that we don't have that culture in Australia. I think we said this when we had our chat yesterday. I find in Australia we don't have that, I'm going to say entrepreneurial, but it is business support culture. We don't have that, I want to be a business person and be a profitable business person. I think a lot of people go to freelance, or they want to work for themselves, but they don't quite know where it comes out. Whereas in America, you find people like you a lot easier. In Europe, it's part of, you know, everybody works for themselves as a contractor. And in Australia, we're so far behind. And I love that you're doing that, because I think that's going to imprint on generations and community and structure and all the things we need to support people, to create that cell of people who become bigger than they are now, because people like you are not the norm.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you.
It's true.
You know, and I do it for my grandkids, you know, if I'm lucky enough to have grandkids. at some stage.
Yeah.
Because I think the way the corporate machine is treating the world right now is not okay.
Yeah, agreed.
The social disparity and the environmental impact of big corporations who are disconnected from the footprint of their decisions.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody in the corporation is a nice person. They're doing the best thing they can with what they have to provide for their family, you know, and to buy a new TV and whatever it is that they're looking to do. But the corporate structure is governed by money and profit.
Yeah.
And the consequence to all of us is that they do have to, like, they literally have a budget for fraud. They have a budget for being sued. They have a budget for taking the piss, you know, and it's not okay. So
for
my
bad
fight,
HR.
it's all written into the finances. Yes, we're going to screw up. And we're going to, you know, we're going to do all this bad stuff. But as long as it's budgeted for, let's keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not okay by me. So my life is dedicated to doing something about that, and therefore I'm looking to extract the Janets. You know, because when I take those youthful, vibrant young women who are, in my opinion, going to become, if I don't take them out of there, they're going to become leaders and they're going to be influencers and they're going to devote their entire life's energy to this horrid machine that they haven't even realized what they're doing. They simply don't connect the dots. They like the people they work with. There's a ping pong table and free drinks on Friday night, so they enjoy the office. They never really think about the consequence of the decisions of the things they do on a daily basis, and how many dolphins it's killing, and how many palm trees it's cutting down, and how much of so much damage. You know, they never tap into that.
Absolutely.
So my purpose is to actually help them to see that, so they can, you know, evolve out of there. Not just leap out the door and smash their computer and have a tantrum. No. Evolve, convert their skill set into a coaching role or to freelancer, so that they can pay their bills while they slowly build their purpose-based business and make a positive difference in the world.
Can I ask you
and
a
that
question?
makes them feel good.
Makes everybody, well, I think when a woman makes a change, more people around her feel the benefit.
Yeah, it works for guys as well.
I was going to ask you this question. Your avatar is Janet, not Jeff.
Yeah, yeah.
How come?
I believe we need more women leaders in the world.
Yeah.
I think we're going through a change where, you know, the men in black have had their run, and, you know, they're probably going to stay in power and so on, but I think I think we need more feminine energy at the top. Positive feminine energy, not masculine females, but, like, love, you know, to be based on love.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe. That's what I've experienced through Bondi and my community here. And I know some really amazing women who are prepared to step up, you know, so... Yeah, I want to bring more energy to that. Of course, it works for men as well. And anyone who resonates with Janet's story, it's whatever. But you know, the point of that story, the point of explaining that is that people need to get that clear on who they're looking for. They need to really know who one person, that avatar. Because when it comes to marketing, you can market to everybody for every reason and get nowhere, or you can market to Janet for one specific reason. That Monday that she realizes, that's when I want her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where else does she go? What else does she do? There's nowhere else to go. She literally could Google it and end up watching cat videos, you know? So I want her to know that I'm here.
I love that. Well, it's as a girl...
We should take a break, by the way. There's probably people out there that want to go make a cup of tea or something, so let's give them a little breather.
I'll keep going after
bit. Yeah. We're going to rock this. 2 hours, 2 days. Let's do this.
I'm good.
You're amazing. I'm digging this. This is good stuff.
Me too.
Let's put on a little bit of music. All right, welcome back.
Hello.
Hasn't that been a good old chat, huh?
I love it.
I think I'm liking this. I think we're going to have to do a repeat. We have to have you back again and again.
You let me know.
This is the Tuesday show, just in case you've just joined us. Welcome to Bondi Radio. We're broadcasting live here from Bondi Beach, the bucket list. It's a first rainy day I've ever had.
Really?
By the way, and that's good luck.
Really?
Obviously,
I love
it's good luck,
It
right?
is. It's the cleanse.
It's the
New
cleanse.
beginnings,
Tell
fresh
you what, I
beginnings.
spent the weekend doing gardening in my backyard, and I was so happy to hear the rain this morning. Actually, I was up at 6:15, went for a little run and did some exercise, and it was a good start to the day. And then it started raining, and my plants are going to be very happy about that. So it's a good thing. But yes, we're broadcasting live from the bucket list, Bondi Beach. The surf is epic. If you're into big, crazy, nasty waves, I don't really know much about surfing, to be honest.
It's over there.
But they're big. They've been flat. There's been nothing the last couple of days.
They really are.
Today, this is the Tuesday show, CHOOSEDAY. You can check out tuesday.com.au. We are here helping people break through their limiting beliefs around their business. So if you're self-employed or if you want to be self-employed, make sure you stick around. We're on till 1 o'clock, so this show's from 11 till 1 every Tuesday. And today, my guest is Nancy Georges. And
hi.
she is, she's been in the business, in the business world for a long time. She's evolved through having her own wholesale business into becoming a coach and really helping people specifically with retail, right?
I was, and now it's around business. Because I'm going to put this to you, Stacy. I was finding a lot of... I remember that an accounting firm asked me to help them with marketing.
Yes.
And I applied the same thing as I do with retailers to customer engagement. I applied to them. And then I realised that really in 2018... Well, this was 2015 and beyond, we're all retail...
I was just thinking the same thing.
We all have to act like retailers.
Yeah.
Because we all have to understand there's... Exactly.
Because the store is no longer a shop front, it's a Facebook page or it's a web page. So same but different, right?
And exactly.
Very cool.
And customers engage with you as a service provider in the same way that they engage with a shoe shop, a newsagent, a bank.
Yeah.
Like, customers don't go, okay, now I'm going to put this hat on and I'm going to put that hat on. It's all around how we engage them. So we have to engage them in real life. We have to understand customer service. We have to get digital. We have to have good products. We have to get the price right. And that's all. So definitely I started around retail because that was my training. So as a retail manager, and I had a commerce degree. So at the time when marketing was new, I remember my dad was like, wait, you're working in Grace Brothers and you're doing something around markets. And I was like, no, it's a marketing degree and I'm a manager at Grace Brothers. So my poor dad, who was a scientist, couldn't get his head around it for a while. But I definitely have to say that when we act like a good customer engager,
yes,
we are a good business.
You know, what you actually made me think about when you said that before about how every business is now retail.
Yeah.
Really, even if you're selling a service, you still have a retail type engagement as that first interaction, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking like in stores, one of my friends has a retail store, and that opening question, hey, are you okay? Or hey, what are you looking for? Or can I help you with something? I mean, that closed question, can I help you with something? No, just looking, you know, like I'm wondering if a website or if a bot or if some kind of the first click or the first view. I've never looked at it that way. You know, what is the first question that I ask when someone comes to the website? Do I ask it, hey, can I help you? Where they just go, no, just looking. Or do I say, what's the better question? Obviously, you.
Well, it's funny because I'm in the process of updating from Magnolia Solutions to Nancy Georges.
Right.
So nancygeorges.com.au. They're both at .com.au, but so I asked the programmer just to transfer everything over. And then when I looked at my new site, I went, oh my God, I can't believe this is my site. You know, so I literally am rebuilding it around that conversation.
Yes.
Who are you? What do you need to know? Did you know that here's some free stuff? Like I give some, like I've got great blog posts and I'm turning them into little PDF downloads so that if you want to look at how to engage customers or the social media tools or, you know, but I think when somebody comes to your website, it's like, hi, learn about me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
What is your problem? How can I help you?
Yeah, that's right.
And I think, and or as they hit your site, that they understand that you understand their problem.
Yes.
So, you know, we answer those questions. And I think that's the thing, isn't it, Stacey? I think that's why websites are becoming more and more important. And, you know, I'm doing two things I said I'd never do again, is develop websites for businesses.
Yes.
I said I'd never do that. I was like, you know, the last client I did that with, maybe like 4 years ago, I was like, yay, I'm free. But things haven't progressed as they should. So, you know, I've worked with a programmer. He's great. And I just said to him, Kane, we need to develop something that people can engage with, a new website for $1,000. We can help them through it. We've got like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, but not have it, you're a new business and spend $10,000 on your website. That's insane.
Yeah, why is that insane?
Because, so a website is just a, hi, this is who I am. This is how to engage with me.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, people make out like their websites are massive money spinners. If your business isn't right, if your message isn't right, if your why isn't right, so they're all the things that you've got to get right first.
Yeah.
Your website's not going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So your first website is just like, here I am, this is what I do.
Yes.
And then you refine from there.
Yeah.
So it's like when you learn to make bread, right? You learn to make basic dough or you make pasta. Basic.
MVP.
I figured this out. I've gotten good.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to add some olives into it.
Yeah, sure.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so I feel like too many people, and my first website that I actually sold from was a WordPress site because people told me WordPress was free, businesses could start it up, and I did it in 2004. I built a WordPress.
You built it yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Great.
Because they said I could, so I did. And also too because I wanted to give my retailers, so that was my whole reason to be a good wholesaler, was to give them some really good tech tools. Did I understand? The thing I didn't understand from going from a marketing manager at a business to having my own wholesale business was that as a marketing manager, you speak to the top of the tree. So you speak to the department stores, the good retailers. When you're a wholesaler, you've got to deal with all the other retailers in the marketplace. And unfortunately, Australian retailers, they lag behind a lot of what they need to know. So then I found myself in the position of you don't have a database. And back then it was an Excel spreadsheet, right? Or an exercise book or whatever it was. So I can tell you this story. In the early 90s, I managed bed linen, haberdashery and discovery, which was vases, at Grace Brothers Burwood. And we used to do curtains and custom curtains for customers. So I had this exercise book that every time I went to measure somebody's house, I'd write blue flowers. I'd look around and take a note of her taste.
Yeah.
So I'd take a note, put it in my book, get back. And whenever I had product that landed that would fit into her look, I'd call her. Mrs. Jones, we've got this come in. No pressure. I'm going to put it out the back till Saturday or Monday. When you're in, come and have a look at it. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, thank you, Nancy. No pressure. I didn't say, when are you going to be in? Or, Burwood as well, pretty local little store. We sold about 84, I think at the time it was about 84% of the stuff I rang them for, we sold.
Wow.
That was an exercise book,
Customer
Stacy.
first.
That was CRM at the time, right?
Yeah.
CRM isn't new. And knowing your customer isn't new.
I think that's probably better than what some people have, actually.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is the other thing, and this is my big thing with working with existing businesses is you already know a lot. You already engage a lot. You just don't necessarily know how to use it.
Yeah.
So if you have a physical store or a physical office or a physical place where people can engage you and you're not telling me about it every single day, what a loss of opportunity. And they're all focusing on these websites. Do you know what I mean? Whereas a physical space, it should be the sucker into if you have a physical space, that is the center of your universe. And I've found that so many people were getting locked into this whole, I have to have this for my website. And you've got to crawl before you walk, really. And that's like, I really want to give people a product that helps them and evolves with them and develops with them as their budget grows as well.
Well, also, most businesses, particularly when they're new, they don't really know what their product is. They know what they're trying to do, and then they get out there and start doing it, and then it will evolve, like with human interaction and with actually selling stuff. And that's, I think, I've had, there's this one particular story. There was a woman who was referred to me. She came in. I used to have these open days in my office, and people would come in and sit. And I'd be in my other office, but I had this communal space that I was sort of working like a co-working space. But I would go in there.
Before your time.
I'd go in there and make sure they weren't talking. My job was to make sure they walked out of that day with a very productive, with a great outcome, with having done the thing that they've been resisting in their house. Anyway, this woman came in and she'd branded her car, she had printed all the flyers, she had made the website, she'd printed the business card, she got the shirts printed, and it was a particular color. I'm not going to give out too many details. And my question was, why did you choose that color? And she's like, I like it. And I was like, oh, no. And I was like, what do your customers think? And she's like, I don't have any customers yet. But she had done everything other than sell something.
Yeah.
And I hope that people don't still do it that way.
Well, they
but,
do, though.
That's the thing with the $10,000 site, right? It's like, do a $1,000 site, sell something, or sell as much as you can. And then when everybody tells you that, you know what? Out of those 5 things that you do, I really like the second one. Yeah. And then everybody just might be interested in the second one. So then your website is not all about those 5 things. It's just about that one thing. And, so get an MVP up, spend, a few $100 or $1,000 and have a presence and then sell. Sell something. Absolutely. And then let the customers tell you what they want more of. Don't tell them that, hey, this is what I do. And that's tough because we do go out there thinking that this is the mousetrap that's going to change the world, and you know what? I built the mousetrap and everyone's going to come and buy it.
No.
But the truth is that that's not the case anymore. We have a billion people selling us everything all the time, which is a great thing because
from a customer perspective.
Once we refine, for
Yeah.
us it is definitely. But once we refine what we're doing, and once we are clear on our avatar, then we can get, you know, 0.1% of a billion is a retired, very wealthy life. So anyway, there's this whole different thing about. But yeah, the $10,000 website first time round.
No.
Because, you know, everyone I know that's got their own website, they're constantly changing it. So why try and build the finished product on round one? Because it will evolve. Whether
Absolutely.
you like, there's no two ways around it.
And I think the other thing is you don't know what you don't know when you've got if this is your first website, you absolutely don't know what it can and can't do. You've got to learn how to update. That's my other big thing. You as a business owner have to learn how to update your own website. You can ask somebody to do it for you when you know what you're doing, but you can't get them to do it all the time. You have to understand the machinations of your business.
Yeah.
Jason from JP Brickwork, he knows how to update. .com.au. Thanks. He'll kill me because he's like, he hates when I do that. Never mind. But I actually sat him down and showed him how we update info in the back of the WordPress site.
Yep.
And he hated every minute of it, but
Sure.
he understands how it happens. He knows how Instagram happens. He's had people walk up to him. So we did that at the end of 2016. We had T-shirts branded. I've had signage put on the truck. I designed it all. I got that all done, and we relaunched the website. Or he just had a one-pager. Relaunched the website. We had people engaging with us on Instagram that would walk past a cafe, see the truck, walk in, see the T-shirt, and say, "Hi, Jason, how you going?" Or, "I want to talk to you about a job." Like, that's
Sure.
literally how
Sure.
it worked.
Yeah, right.
And his first website, like for me, even though I understand websites, I didn't understand what we needed to do for JP. So I literally built the basic, and then I put everything on top of that. So I put, this is who we are, this is the work we've done, or we've started to put some articles up. I've had some trade magazines contact us and say, could we have a story and a picture? And I thought, you know what, I should have that already on the website, so I'm developing that to put it on. So I'm literally building it based on the customer feedback. And I think that's the thing in business you have to understand, is that unless somebody needs your product, don't develop it. And I've definitely, I was saying to you about I needed to be perfect. So that's another thing. Janet does this because Miss Perfect, these good girls, we all want to be perfect, and women want to release it perfect. Men, God love you, you're fantastic. You release it 70%, which is pretty perfect,
Well, you know what? So does Xbox. So does iPhone.
Oh my gosh,
so
right?
does everyone else. I mean, have you
Microsoft,
heard of
absolutely.
Coca-Cola doing their product called Mother? That was a bomb, man. There's a stack of. I mean, Apple, I think, are probably one of the few who don't do it anymore. But every big company, they pretty much, McDonald's, they'll put out for a limited time, they'll put out a burger and see if it sticks. If it sticks, then it ain't limited anymore. It's part of the menu.
And I think that's how we need to act as business women, business owners. And I think I worked with 2 male coaches after I worked with Dominique, because I felt like I needed to have that male way of thinking better than my good girl thinking. It was a really sort of different thing. But my mother, God love her, and she doesn't just say this because she's my mother, because she's brutally honest, but she used to always go, your 70% is perfect anyway. Like, you've got to realize what that is. And I think exactly, but isn't it better to release something and iterate it? So doing our plain bread roll, and then going, somebody asked me if I can put an olive in it. I've put an olive and I've sold it.
Yeah.
And in the same way, I think you've got to understand your staff or people that work with you and for you are your internal customers. So if they're saying to you, I've had these phone calls and they've asked me for XYZ, and we still don't have it, and I really think we should add XYZ. Now, if I add that, because you've told me that we need XYZ, you're so going to be committed to selling XYZ because you're part of that demand driver.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too. We've got to really look at our staff and understand that they're an internal customer, and put structure around like how. So when I work with retailers, I always say stick a piece of paper on the wall next to the phone, or even on a clipboard, or whatever you want to do. And every time somebody asks for something you don't stock, get them to write it on that wall.
Awesome.
And at the end of the week, you go, wow, 45 people have asked us for purple polka dotted T-shirts. Whatever it is. So then when you put it in there, people are going to buy it. Staff are listening. So all of a sudden, then you have a massive engagement, and you're developing what people want. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think to your point, it's like stop developing stuff people don't need.
Yes.
Go out and find out what people need first. There's so many great ways to. You can do a little Survey Monkey questionnaire, Facebook poll.
Well, it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, how the first place to find what the business is to just help people.
Yes.
Hey, what do you need? Can
Yep.
I help you with that? No, I can't help you. I know someone who can, but I can help you with that. Awesome, let's do it. And then do that, and then just, you know, and then pretty much record what you did, you know, and record who it was that wanted it, and then see if you can find someone else who wanted it, and then just practice. And that's once again, it comes back to having your money covered, knowing how much your life costs, so that you don't have to have all this. The game isn't about making heaps of money. Knowing that, you know what, my life costs me $1,018 per week, so therefore I can work a few days a week and I can pay the bills, and then I can just help people. And that's how I think people should launch a business. That's what our whole program is around, getting people to extract the IP from their life. So that could be, a big chunk of it is often from their career, but it could also be from the personal things that they've been through, or the hobbies that they've had for a long time, or maybe the sports, or maybe it's their, you know, the fun things they like to do, whatever it might be, their expertise in travel and winging it, or whatever it might be, or dating. It could be something totally random. Then to package those, merge them all together, and then to just run some kind of workshop on it, and be like, hey, you're a tech guy that can't get a date, or you're a model that is just not getting enough work, or whatever it might be. So you run a workshop around that, and you just get 6 people in the room. Nice little intimate environment with 6 people. And you share your content, and you solve their problem, and they tell you, you know what? Those 7 things that you just showed me, number 4 and number 6 were awesome. Number 1 was stupid, number 7 we don't really care about, we already know that anyway. And so the next workshop you run, you turn number 4 and number 6 up and make them into, you know, maybe 50% of the content. And then you refine it. You get another 6 people in the door off the back of the previous 6 that went out and shared with their friends. And
perfect.
And then by the time you've run 4 or 5 workshops, you're really clear on what it is, what's your coaching content, what sequence it should be in, what's really valuable, and also what else do they want? What's the upsell product? Because once you've finished your workshop, they're like, you know that thing number 4, can you help me do that? Instead of just teaching them, they're like, hey, can you hold my hand and actually build it for me? Or can you show me how to do it? Is like step. So there's sort of like 3 levels. I tell them about it, I tell them how to do it, or I help them do it, or I do it for them. So there's 3 levels. And of course, to help them do it for them is the premium money. That's the $1,000 a day or whatever it might be. And so, you know, and it comes from actually getting into the market and trying and just getting and seeing what people actually want. So that's the program that we take people through. That's how we help Janet to evolve out of her corporate job, is by helping her to package all the stuff that she's got in her life, not just her career skills, but all the other bits and pieces, and who she loves to be around, you know, and always, every single time, with the purpose of creating a wonderful lifestyle in 4 or 5 years from now. Not just so you can make money and quit your job, but so that your lifestyle is amazing, so that you're serving a purpose, so that you have a big vision, and so that when you're 65, 85, or 110, depending on how robots take over the world, you sit there and you reflect on your life, and you have that Nelson Mandela purpose to your life. You know, you did something that Helen Keller or Lady Diana, or there's so many, you know, who have left a legacy, and it's all because they identified what was important to them and then started doing it, and then keep doing it and getting better at it and turning the volume up and standing on a podium and saying what you believe needs to change in the world. So yeah, that's how our program evolves.
And I think, you know, the thing I love about, there's 2 things that you just said then. It evolves over 5 years, 3 to 5 years, really. And I think that's so important, because I think too many people think, I'm going to do it and it will change straight away, or by the end of this year I would have made, you know, 6 figures. You know, there's so many things out. You should want to make 6 figures eventually. Like, and I think you've got to do that work. And you've got to do and the fact that the work is all customer facing, customer problem solving. I love that. But I think the other thing too is, you know, once upon a time, if you'd said to somebody 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you could change the world, it would have been such a crazy idea compared to today, where you can reach so many people in different ways. And you can change the world by changing things in your own suburb. It's not... you know, doing that on a... I saw this beautiful little Facebook clip last night of this... I think she's 9 years old. She was born with a cleft palate. So she makes these little like sewn dolls, and they have cleft palates, or they might have a funny ear, or... like she actually makes them. And she's like a bona fide business. Like, she's 9 years old and sewing her little bum off. But she's changing the world because she's helping people with disability or helping little girls or boys with illness. And I just think what an amazing little soul she's like, what an amazing adult she's going to be when she takes all of that with her, you know. And I think that's what you're giving people, that you're giving them that inner strength to be able to create amazing things moving forward, not just to change their life, you know.
Yes.
Because I think when you feel invincible, or you feel capable, not invincible, when you feel capable, you will achieve.
Well, yeah, there's so many other things that come into play, because when I can identify what I'm here to do, when I can, you know, dig into my whole life story, John DeMartini, I'm sure you know that guy. Voids create values. So if I can identify what's really important to me, usually it comes from the stuff that I've been through, and for a lot of times it's the negative things that I've otherwise suffered from, or so to speak.
Yeah.
And so I identify, why are these important to me? Why is me doing the corporate thing, you know, attacking the corporate system, why is that important to me? For me, it's because, I mean, my version of hell, when I was 21, 22, I had an office job for a little while. I was really passionate about being an architect. I wanted to design, so on and so on. So I got this job in an architecture firm. And for me, my version of hell, and I mean this to this very day, is being like a Wednesday or a Thursday morning or something. I've been out for a drink the night before. I don't drink anymore, but I used to. And being on the train, sitting on a train with, and it's a hot morning, and I'm hungover, and I'm going to a job I don't like, and I'm in a train full of sheepy people who are all depressed, and I've got a hot suit on with a tie up around my neck, and I'm tired, and I'm hungover, and I'm going to work. That, to me, is the worst possible thing you could ever do to me. If I die and go to hell, that's what they're going to make me do, is sit on a train for eternity. Like, that, for me, was horrible. And now I've been self-employed, and I've had all these things. You know, I come to the beach when I feel like it, and I do work, but I love what I do, and it's got a true purpose to it. And these people that go to a job where they don't understand, they've never taken the time to really appreciate that, you know, even they go to bed at a certain time, so they wake up energized. They eat food. They might even eat healthy food. They might even go to the gym, so they feel energized. And guess what they do with that energy? They put it into something they don't even care about. 40 years of their life, all the food, all the sleep, all the nutrients, all the vitamins, everything they do, they give it to a corporation that, quite frankly, doesn't give a shit about them. Like, wake up.
But you
seriously.
know, this is the other thing, though, Stacey, is that people, if you do wake up and feel that, you can change it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I want to do, you know?
So, but I think a lot of people, like I know a lot of people in that position where you go, okay, just change what you're doing. Find out what you need to do next. I've had that conversation with more people than I can, like 30, 40 people, where it's like, but people feel like, oh, I'm locked in, or I've got bills to pay, or, you know, and I think that is a bona fide reason in people's head to a degree, but then I think then it's also an excuse that keeps you a little bit more comfortable into, oh, I have to do this because I've, you know, but I think now, give yourself permission to change your life.
Yeah.
You know, give yourself permission to put yourself where you need to go.
Yes. And, you know, that's the thing about the money. That's why it's one of the 3 pillars of our company. Yeah. Because when people understand that their life costs them, when they can figure out how much their life costs them, and they can literally go and, you know, find out how many hours doing something different it would take to cover that money, then it gives them a sense of freedom. It's like, oh, wow, actually, maybe I can be okay without this job. Because the thing is, when you spend 40 hours on the job, everybody in that job also has that same feeling. Yep. And so if they came and spent a week in my house, it would change. Yep. They would be like, oh, actually, wow, all these cool people are chilling on a Tuesday, you know? They don't stress about things.
But I think that's being open to doing things differently, isn't it? Like, I think that's the other thing too, that I think that you do well, far better than a lot of people do that say they're a life coach.
Sure. I don't say I'm a life coach. I'm not qualified in anything.
No, but you are, because you have results.
Yeah,
but I'm doing inverted commas, everybody, because life coach. But I think so many people don't understand that some people need help to do things differently. They're open to it. They just don't know how to do things differently. Yes. So you've gone, you know, like, I actually rented out my house and moved back in with my mum. Traumatic, right? My beautiful house and my beautiful Jarrah floorboards and my French wooden blinds and beautiful house. But when I did that, that gave me that freedom to go, okay, I actually can do this. because I don't. But I did things differently. If I'd stayed in my house, I would have lost it. Shared houses, Airbnb your place when you're away, like all the things that we can do. You be an Uber driver in your downtime. Like there's so many things now that we do that we would have never say never. Do you remember the movie The Net with Sandra Bullock? Do you remember that?
No.
So I do this talk around the connected customer, and I always show this clip. I'm going to show you this clip. I'm going to share it on with Stacy. He can share it with you. So she sits there at the beginning of this movie. She orders a pizza and she books a cruise. It was 1996, and I remember watching this in the cinema, going, "Booking a holiday on the internet? What a I'd never do that. Booking pizza, ordering a pizza on the internet. I'd never do." That was the last time I never said never, because the next year I started my own website, my first website.
Sure.
You know, so and the 2 years after that, I actually booked tickets. You know, instead of Let's Go Europe out of my book, I actually booked them online. It was like very, I felt very modern. But we can't say never, right? Because that never puts you into a place that you don't want to be, where you don't have that elasticity of activity or elasticity of thinking.
Yeah.
I love it. It's
Look, you know, I feel bad because I was just kind of yelling at somebody. I was like, you know, wake up. You know, I understand.
Tough love.
That. Well, you know, that's why I can't call myself a life coach, because I think a life coach has to be with someone and nurture them over a certain time period. I'm more like I just kick people in the ass. I'm like, come on, man, just step outside your comfort zone and see how it goes. And if you need to, you can go back. You know, what's the worst that can happen? We live in Australia. If we were in Mumbai, I probably wouldn't have a role, because people do actually die if they make a mistake. But in Australia, like, it's not really like you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, don't go and do something crazy. Don't go and invest all your money in Bitcoin or something like that unless you really know what you're doing. But I'm all about, you know, exploring where is the edge of my comfort zone and how does it feel if I put my foot outside. I can always bring it back in, but how does it feel if I give it a shot? What if I send a message to my ideal customer? Or what if I propose a JV? What's going to happen? You know, that's my job. Like, I'm not in my workshops. One of my opening lines in the very first couple of minutes is, "I'm not here to be your friend. I have enough friends. My job today is to make sure that you get epic results. And sometimes I might push you, and sometimes you might cry. But I know that I want you to walk out of here knowing that today was a day worth having." And I don't care about making friends with people, because I know how my program works. I know how that life design workshop is structured to make people dream bigger and to take action on the day so that it starts. Not so that, you know, the hardest part about going to the gym is what?
Getting started.
Is putting on my shoes. For me, you know, is to actually get out of bed and put on my gym clothes. So in the workshop, I actually get them into the gym clothes. I make that thing start. I don't just say, "Oh, here's a lovely picture, go and have a wonderful day." No, we get the wonderful picture, we get the vision of the future, and, you know, I'm not going to disclose how we do it, but I make it start that day.
And I think, the other thing is that people, I think business owners, not business, anybody in life today has to be open to what they don't know and to be open to other options in the world. And you can Google anything. Like, you can literally open the internet and say, "Show me a chicken frying an egg." Yeah. And you'll find it. Yeah. Do you know what the things that we have access to now.
How did you pick that?
I don't know. That's how my brain works sometimes. Yes, it's better not to analyse. Just go with it.
Chicken frying an egg.
Do you know, like a random thing? Yeah. And I think this is the other thing too. You've got people that will come to your workshops who don't even know what they don't. They don't know what the options are and the possibilities
about 40%.
Are. Yeah.
40% come in. They say, I don't want to come because I don't know what I want. So that's what the workshop's for.
And that's amazing, because they're sitting next to people who also know what it is. And I think this is a thing in life. We have to go, you know what? I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know that I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn. I'm going to keep my skills up. My biggest lesson, my store manager, who actually asked me where I was from when I was 18 years old and made me realise I don't look Australian, he also said to me, "Nancy, your biggest job in life is to learn to learn. If you can learn to learn and learn to evolve yourself, you're going to be set." Yeah. And he was 72 years old, Mr. Ma. God love you. May you rest in peace. He was the best. Ma's Fabrics, family business. Maya bought them. They gave him a job for 12 months to kick him out of the whole thing was, you know what, he won't perform. Roselands was the first ever shopping centre. Turned it over. bigger results in Sydney City Store, and he became Sydney City Store manager, I think, in his late 70s. So an amazing man. And I think that's the other thing too, that, you know, age is a number. Because we all know 20-year-old people who act like 90-year-old people, and we all know 70-year-old people who act like 20-year-old people. So I think your ability to give people a look into something they don't even know exists, that's the thing. Like, be open to everything. It's better to do something and go, you know what, that's actually not for me, because somewhere in your brain, you've kept something that you're going to use for later. You might not use it now, and I think, you know, that constantly challenging yourself. And I go to lots of talks and seminars, and I watch lots of talk, not just TED Talks, which are great, but I listen to lots of different things, because sometimes I'll randomly open my podcast app and put in there, like, you know, French politics, and in brackets English, because I think, you know, you should know what's happening sort of in the world, or cooking, you know, cooking in Tuscany, different things like that, because I want to absorb different things and different thinkings, and I like sort of applying things across. And I think that's to even do, like, for, you know, if you sort of, somewhere in your head you go, you know what, I don't really want to be doing this in 10 years, but I don't know what I'd want to do, I would go and do your course now, because that could inform what you would do in the next 5 years to get you, you know, like, you don't have to do something now because you need to change now. And I think we owe it to ourselves to evolve as humans.
Well, I find a lot of people do have desires. Everybody does, actually, because there's not a single person that hasn't gotten great results out of the workshop. Every single person walks out of there with an improved life. And they... Can
you do one for parents?
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely.
You know, we were at the Commonwealth Games last week, and the two boys in front of us, who would have been around 7, 8, 9, had iPads in their hands. We were at the athletics. And I took a picture, God help me, their faces aren't shown, but I took a picture and put it on my Facebook page and went, what is wrong with the world? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, besides the fact that the tickets were $150 each, where has parenting gone that we don't engage the kids with the world that they live in? That we stick them in front of a... Can you do one, please?
I'll get parents
to, I've done school talks because my friends are all like, oh, you know what, their dad's monitoring their internet usage.
Do you have a venue?
I'll find you a venue.
Well, you only need 6 people.
Easy.
6 people minimum.
Easy.
Yeah? I actually like to do it in a house around people's dinner table.
Well,
it's a personal environment. It's just a casual environment. You just have a cup of tea, you get up and go to the bathroom if you need to. It's in someone's house. And then if somebody there also is like, hey, can you do one for students? And I'm like, can we do it at your house? And in that way, you know, that's a nice, scalable way that enables everybody to learn. You know, if I facilitate one in your house, that's going to show you how to run a workshop in your house, right? So that's a really good way to address this corporate issue.
Well, folks, we're putting the call out there. I'm going to chase it up.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to.
I really, like, I find this whole, you know, this is driving me nuts. Because I understand parenting's exhausting. I don't have kids. That's my caveat. I don't have kids, but I've been around kids my whole life. You can't just shrug your shoulders and go, I give up. Yeah. But I love that. So we'll be following this up, folks. We're finding the location. I can think of 3 people right now I can talk to. I went and spoke to Year 5 girls at my old school. So it's the junior school to my school. And they said, Nancy, it's like a career program that the girls in Year 5, the kids in Year 5 did. And they saw a journalist, a doctor, they see different sort of disciplines, and then they decide where they want to focus their next 18 months. Sure. So I did, they wanted me to talk about social media. And social media is such a big topic, right? So I thought, if you're an 11-year-old girl or the 11-year-old child, let's look at how you can change the world with social media, like positive stories, charity, giving, sharing, empowering, finding your voice. The first 25 minutes of that talk, the girls had me talking about bullying and how they handle it.
Yeah.
Broke my heart, because they obviously, teachers can't say a certain thing. I could say nobody told me what I couldn't say, so I let them have it. But it was really interesting to me because, do you know, because I was like, well, I basically said the bully has the problem. Yeah. It's not you. Rally with your friends, don't engage with the bully. And you could literally see by the end of 20 minutes, the girls were in a different sort of space. But then we talked about the charity and the sharing and the great stories and the positivity of the internet. The teacher said to me by the end of it, oh my God, Nancy, I didn't realise how many great things there were in the internet. And I was like, you're the teacher of 11-year-old brains. Like, they have been so programmed in education that looking outside your world is such an evil thing, a scary thing. You know, so I definitely think. Yeah, but I definitely think so. So we'll be following this up, Mr. Stacy, because I think this is the thing that parents are people, and they create the kids of the future, right? So who's empowering
We've
these
never done
kids?
one for kids. For parents. Totally into that. Sounds great.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I
Tick.
think we should put on a little track.
Yay.
Take a little breather. Go and get a cup of tea, ladies and gents. And we'll be back, and let's have a look. How long are we going to for this show?
Drum roll, please.
Oh, it's another 9 minutes, 18 seconds. Cool. Okay, so we will be back in just under 9 minutes. And in the meantime, I tell you what, I challenge you. Go and do something different today. Go and make something that makes today special, something that makes today important. Today is Tuesday. Choose a challenge. Step outside your comfort zone. Just dip your toe outside the front there and see how it goes.
Ciao, ciao. Sorry, guys.
Whoopsie. We're just
All my
chatting
fault.
away. Hey, this is Stacy. This is the Tuesday show here on Bondi Radio. Don't know how much dead air there was then, but you know we love that.
Well, made you look, didn't it? Made you that 2
Made you-
seconds
yeah.
made you go, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? When there's a little glitch, it makes people notice. Like, actually, you know, that reminds me. You know, sometimes I end up speaking to hundreds of people, and people are like, "Wow, you know, I'm so nervous about speaking to 4 people or 6 people or whatever it is." Tell them you're nervous. I think you know that when there's a mistake when there's dead air, just be like, "Yeah, you know what? There was dead air." Big deal, whatever. Made you listen because people notice those things, don't they? They notice the failures.
Yes. What?
What a segue that was.
Nice.
So, okay, hang on. Tell me, you wanted to talk about failure. So, hit me. What's the question?
My thing around failure is that, especially in Australia, when we should be saying learning or a teaching or an experience,
Yep.
we say failure. And I wanted to see how you sort of handle people talking about that. Because I say when Paper Magnolia, for me, my wholesale business, when I decided that wasn't working, wasn't making money, wasn't what I should be doing, I saw myself as a failure for a really long time.
Right.
And now I look back and I go, oh my God, that informed everything I do now, professionally and personally, because I have so much more resilience now. And I realise I put things into perspective and I'm able to help people. So when I'm talking to clients, I could be saying to somebody, you've got to open a website or you've got to close a store or fire a person. And that to them is as much trauma as for me nearly losing my house and moving in with my mum and renting out my home, all those sort of things. So I just wanted to talk about failure because I think, or what is perceived failure, because I think a lot of people need to reprogram their thinking around failure.
Sure. Yep. Great. And a pretty somewhat simple answer with a massive implication. For me, funny enough, it actually comes back to the life design workshop.
Yeah.
Because when I'm clear on what I'm trying to do in the next 5 to 10 years, what could be perceived as failure is merely a hurdle in the way. And if my vision was 3 months, or if my vision was, you know, just to achieve a certain thing, and then that certain thing didn't happen, then I guess I could perceive that as a failure. But if my vision, for me, like one of the images on my vision board is me speaking to the United Nations at the age of 65.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I'm 42 in a few days.
Wow.
And
Happy birthday
so we're
to
talking, you know, 23 years down the line where I know what I'm going to be talking on in that moment.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, it really makes my life so much easier. It really does, because I know what I'm trying to do in the long term. And anything that comes up in the way, or anything that's kind of not so perfect right now, whatever it might be, it's just a hurdle, and it's a learning. It really is a learning. So I think failure is something that I personally don't really experience, because it's a very long-term game for me.
Yep.
And if I'm clear on what the long-term game is, then, you know, I just do it again.
Yeah.
I just try again. You know,
Yeah.
what like failure, a child doesn't give up on walking. You know, you want to learn to ride a bike, you've got to fall off. You don't learn how to ride a bike unless you fall off. So I think failure is something that is a consequence, or the experience of failure is something that's a consequence of a short-term vision or a short-term mindset. So if someone has a long-term mindset, then you just don't have a choice. If someone's really tapped in to their purpose, but really tapped into why that's their purpose, then all the other stuff is just stuff. It's just part of the journey. And when people think that success is an achievement or is a certain milestone or a benchmark, then they're always going to come up against these things. But for me, failure can only happen if everything rests on that one particular thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
And it is a place to pivot. If something doesn't work, change the circumstance and do something else.
Yeah.
You know, that's absolutely, because I think that's the thing. Like when you look at your life as a long line, that one incident is an incident, and nothing. You know, I think this is the whole. And women do this. You know, I was talking about. I started Social Media Women in 2010, thinking, why do we need to create a group just for women? I'm not a big fan of having to have these only women groups, because I think we don't live in a world with only women.
Yeah.
But I do understand why some people join them, because women, it's a different being. We have an unrealistic expectation of ourselves. We have this perfectionist streak. We see failure as a life and death thing. Men see failure in such a better way, just that they're more resilient. But I feel like resilience has to be part of who you are as a person, not just as a business person.
Sure.
But I love that. It's like, well, if it doesn't work, you're still working to the long-term goal.
Yeah, Nelson Mandela spent 23 years in jail.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And he didn't fail.
At all.
If anybody had, you know, Richard Branson, he's failed more times than everybody. You know, he's. I don't know if he's ever been bankrupt, but no. He's started over 1,000 businesses, and he's got 300, and I think it's 330 that are still functioning.
Amazing.
He's failed
Amazing.
twice as many times as he succeeded. So
Apple Mark 1 didn't work. Apple Mark 2. Like, I think these are the things that we, again, culturally. Yeah. Again, we're not going to be talking about this in 40 years, because it's going to be a different conversation. But that's the world that we live in today, where people are like, oh my God, I can't master this. I don't know how to do this. This is too hard. And you know, and I find that's the I suppose that's one of the things I find people say to me. I break it down in real English. So I think that's the other thing too. Like, failure is just something that happens to you today, and that you can pick yourself off and change it. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing, you know, at the end of the day, if you can wake up in the morning and you have your health and you have your brain, you're good to go.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's the thing. Like, don't worry about money in the bank.
Do you know Esther Hicks?
No.
Abraham Esther Hicks?
No.
So she's it's a different kind of genre of personal development, but she's ultra spiritual, almost otherworldly. If anyone knows who she is, I don't need to go into it too much, but check her out.
I'm going to Google it.
If you want to have a new variety of personal development, extremely sharp woman. And you know, to be honest, she's not actually Esther Hicks. She's channeling something called Abraham. I've listened to hundreds of hours of this entity channeling, whatever it might be. And it's flawless. You know, I'm always looking for those slip-ups where she's not speaking in third person, but she does it incredible. And who knows, you know, I don't pretend to know everything. But one thing that she does very well is always talks about when something's not wrong, go general. Go general, go general. So what that means is to step back. So if I have a so-called failure, and if in my head, I'm still not... A lot of people, which I think is quite sad, actually. A lot of people don't recognize that we have a positive voice and a negative voice in our head. Walt Disney tried to get that across in numerous times with the little white angel sitting on one shoulder and the little red devil on the other shoulder. Like, we have that in our lives, and it was when I first discovered those two voices that I really took charge of my life and cleaned up all the stuff that I'd done wrong. But if somebody has a so-called failure and the little red devil is like, you're a loser, you're shit, you're crap, you keep doing this stupid thing, why do you fail? And if somebody just chooses to listen to that, then they're gonna suck. They're gonna go down and go deep. But Esther Hicks says it really nice. She's like, go general, and it always, if something doesn't work out, take a step back and be like, you know what? I've still got two legs. I'm still in Australia, you know. I've still got, I can go and sleep on my friend's couch if I need to, because there's a lot of people around the world that don't have those options. Yeah. And, you know, I think when it comes to failure, it's really, that's how I do it anyway.
Do you know, interesting you say that, because I think social media, I love social. I love it because I think it's a true connector, and I use social in my own terms. I make the rules. My method of engagement is my own rules, and I know a lot of people don't have that. But I also think, in a way, it stops people saying to their friends, oh, my God, I need to take time out. Can you help me? Because people feel they need to live this perfect life and have this perfect life in social. And I think that's I love, like, you know, can I crash on your couch? Like, I've said to some my good friends know when I'm having a terrible time or when I'm having a great time. I tend not to put it out so much because I don't want to have that discussion. If I want to have that discussion, I'll have it with you face to face.
Yep.
But I feel like if you need to engage your friends to support you in some way, do it, because people are so ready to help and not judge. And if your friends are judging, they're not your friends, get rid of them. Like, really, at the end of the day, you're old enough and smart enough to understand, this whole sort of Kardashian world. And I don't, good on them. They've had an amazing achievement. They know who they are and what they're doing. But it's not this real life. And I think I love that. It's like, if you need to take that time out and change what you're doing and go general, I think that's such a smart thing. And don't think of failure. Just learn. From what you've done.
And ask for help.
Totally.
I had so much help in getting from, a broke, friendless, basically an alcoholic bum. I was living on, I think, $330 a week, and I had the smallest room in a messy share house, covered in pizza boxes and beer bottles, and that was my life. And there's no way in hell that I could be here if I didn't have the help of a supportive community.
But you took it, Stacey. That's the
right.
difference too. You took the help. Some people don't take help.
Well, some people don't know how, and there are people in my world who don't haven't really comprehended that there's two different types of things. There are some people that are constantly asking for favors and they have no brownie points left. That's different. But if you're a nice person and if you genuinely support others and you do like to help back, and it is totally okay to put your hand up and say, you know what, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And I have had to do that constantly for the last, 13 years since I realized that I wasn't. So this is Brian Tracy, the 3 levels, the 3 things we go through. First, in our life, we are dependent.
Yep.
We're a child that needs to be fed, we have our nappies changed, we need to be clothed, and so on. And then we become independent. And as a teenager, the point of being a teenager and this kind of rite to passage is to be independent. So I want to move out of my house, I want to buy my first car, I want to get drunk and come home when I want to sleep with who I want to sleep with, I want to get high, whatever it is, all those things. I'm independent and I'm proving my independence. But there's a third level of maturity that some people never get to, which is interdependent. And there are a lot of people, not many in my world anymore, because I've deliberately kind of removed myself from that level, which maybe that's bad. I don't know, but I've got to look after myself. It's my own.
I was going to
my
say
own
self-preservation,
first,
isn't
right?
it? Yeah.
And so to get from independent, a lot of people still pride themselves on being independent.
Yeah.
But there's not a single person who's making a big difference in the world who's independent. You've got to be interdependent. You have to reach out and ask for help, and you've got to help others. And so there is this web of connection. And so for people to understand how to do that, you need to put yourself into a position of helping somebody. Or like, imagine how it feels when you help someone and they smile and they look you in the eye and they give you a hug and say thank you. And so you help, but they give you such a beautiful gift of gratitude. And so be prepared to let people help, because sometimes it actually is a wonderful thing to help someone. Like, we don't give presents, well, I'd like to think so. We don't give presents so that person gives us a present back.
No.
We give a present because it feels good to make that person smile.
And we've thought about them.
Interdependence is acknowledging that and realizing that, firstly, it's not a take-take game, and at the beginning I did that. I was very much a take. I win, you lose. That was my mindset. And fortunately, I had some pretty stern people helping me, and they kicked my butt, and they were like, no, you've got to give back, dude, and they taught me how to give back. And I think a lot of people don't get that education. A huge amount, probably 50% of the population don't get that. They just don't, they're not taught it. They don't have an experience of that because their family didn't know, their grandparents didn't know, it wasn't taught around the dinner table, and therefore there really is no place to learn that other than if they're lucky enough to somehow join a community where that's taught. And that's tough. That's tough. There are people that I know pretty close to me who haven't realized that, and they suffer, and they're growing old, and they still don't appreciate how that works. So, that's a tough thing. And our Pova community is really sweet like that. We do ask people to help, and they love helping.
I think too, like, so you were saying about the spiritual side. I am spiritual. I'm Christian, Catholic, raised Catholic, but I really do believe that sometimes angels speak to us.
Right.
We call it intuition, we call it higher power, we call it whatever. And I think sometimes you're put into the path of something. Like if you're listening to this show or if you're part of your community, you're there for a reason because you're hearing a message or you want to engage. And I think sometimes you should go down that rabbit hole, go and explore that, whatever that is, and then come out the other side and decide it's for you or not for you, because I think you're going to be richer for that. And I think sometimes when you help people, and I think that for me that's the thing with social, where people would reach out who I don't know, but when you can help somebody you don't even know, or somebody who puts a general call out and you do something for them and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much, that was great. And you just think, my God, that's my buzz.
Yes.
And I suppose that's my thing about creating my lifestyle that I want to have, is because I do want to give. I want to give a very structured one day a week to whatever I want to do that is not around my business or my personal life. Because I think we're so blessed. We're so blessed that we live here. Yes. And we're so lucky to have choice. And I think that at the end of the day, power comes from choice.
Yeah.
Having that choice, I can choose to do this or not to do this. I could choose to put my gym gear on or sit on the couch. I can choose to get up and write my 20,000 words or not write my 20,000 words. And, choice is a powerful thing that I reckon more than 50% of the world doesn't have choice in the way that they,
that's right. You're absolutely right. Most of I'd say probably a third, if not 50% of the population on Earth, they have to get up and toil the soil. Or
survive.
Else they don't eat.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They have to hustle.
Yeah.
Which is something that Australian culture just really doesn't know anything about.
No.
We, like you were saying, sometimes it's difficult to get people to travel to get to their work. Like they would rather quit the job than take public transport. So you have to babysit them and hold their hand. Which, it is what it is. But I just want to come back because I think it's a nice little wrap up for today. How the interdependent nature of our personal lives and of our spiritual lives and of our personal development really is about helping and, to serve first.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
And maybe it's fair to say that there might be some kind of energy level, there's some cosmic kind of thing going on where if I help enough people, then the world starts helping me back.
Yep.
And that's what we started off with, when you helped those retailers, then you got to see your opportunity. And it didn't come the other way around.
No,
and
at
so
all.
first is to find what you can help people with and then to start to serve. And as you start to serve, people, maybe your calendar's going to get too full and you're doing it for free in your spare time, whatever it might be. And no longer can you continue to do it for free. And so people are like, look, I really need your help. Can I pay you to do it? And that's kind of how I think a really beautiful business can evolve.
Yep.
Is first to serve. First find what is your one special thing that you can give to the world, and give it and give it and give it. And eventually people will pay you to do it. And that's, I think, a really nice organic way to evolve a business. And I think I just want to tie this into I always love to go back to the subliminal part of our brain and where it came from and the natural evolution of humans.
Yeah.
And we came from small villages. 150 to 300 people was a village. And we were a so-called, somewhat independent little community where we might have traded with other villages and so on. But generally, most of the stuff that was needed was done by that 150 to 300 people. In that community, you can't be on the dole.
No.
Everyone has a place.
Yep.
Everyone has a role to serve. And if you're born with no legs, then your job is to sit there and stitch baskets.
Yep.
If you're tall, then your job is to go and pick the high fruit. If you're fast, your job is to catch the rabbits. And if you're a little boy, your job is to go and catch insects. Everybody has a role. And I think if people were to just really take themselves back to that, we now live in a city of Sydney of 5 million people. And so there's so many people that there is enough space for someone to sit back, watch TV, smoke some weed, eat bad food, and just take the dole. And now those people don't feel good.
No,
they
at
feel
all.
bad. And the reason they feel bad, I believe, is because they're not giving. They're not earning their right to eat. And those people in that village, they went and catch the insects, and that gives them permission to sit at the table or to sit around the fire at night and to take the food from the community pot. And if people can really comprehend that that's where our feeling of worth, our self-esteem, our purpose in life, all those things, it really is quite simple. First, you must put in before you take out. Because if you're not catching the insects, if you're not picking the apples, the village is going to tell you to go away and you don't get dinner. And that's kind of how people need to see it, you know? And that's how I think business should see themselves as well. First, to serve. To solve a real problem for someone who's having a bad day.
Yeah.
and to make them feel better. And then you feel better. And it's a win-win for everyone involved.
So true, Stacy. So, well, that used to be my challenge when I was in a shop. If I got a customer who was grouchy and awful, by the time they left me, they smiled at me and said goodbye. Or when I do training, sometimes I do training with very resistant staff, and I always target that person that you're going to kiss me and hug me when you walk out the door. And, you know, like you get a buzz anyway from doing the right thing, but to impact that person in that way, it's special. But I totally givers get. If you give, you can take. And I think at the moment in the world, we have a little bit more takers than givers. But by doing this, we're sort of sharing that mechanism, aren't we?
Yeah, I hope so.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to live in that village with 300 people. Don't you think it'd be nice
No
to know
internet.
everybody's name? I don't
There's
care.
no websites.
But you don't
How do
need
you buy
it.
your cruise?
You don't need it because you're all connected. You just walk down the road and go, "Hey, Stace, how's your day?" I don't need a picture from Facebook. I love that.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it's such
What do
a...
you guys think? I'd love to live in that world, and I think sometimes that's for me. Like I'm surprised that like I can do that. I do need to have that little bit of time out, and I never used to be very good at time out. I've got to be. Anybody who knows me will tell you that's true.
Yeah.
But I never used to do time out, and I now find time out to be. I used to always have radio and TV on on the phone, whereas now I just sometimes just turn everything off and just be. And I think that's that processing. But you know, also the same way of this whole thing about when you see somebody who needs help, is offer it. They don't have to take it, but by you offering it, maybe they can change how they think as well. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, to fill your calendar with helping people, the word's going to get out. Hey, you know, he's really good at that. Or she's really good at that. You should go and see him. And then eventually it's going to get to a point where there's no time in your calendar and, you know, you have to prioritize. And in this world, it's money. You know, it's either in the early days for me, it was like, oh, I'll help you with this if you help me with that. You know, I think that's a bit of a natural evolution, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
First you serve, first you give.
Yeah.
And then you get to a position where you can actually do swapsies and you can look after each other. And then it gets to a point where your skill set is so high that it becomes a money transaction. Because really, I mean, unless I'm working with somebody at the same level as me, a joint venture or some kind of collaboration doesn't really appeal. Because...
But I think
my
that's
time's
okay though
worth
too,
something.
because I like doing this training program. I'm doing some free webinars and free workshops, and I'm doing those purely because I want to find out what I need to fill my gaps with.
Yeah.
Like as you said, but I figure, well, why wouldn't I do that while giving back to people who's going to give me their time and feedback?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of fair. But then that's 10% of my time. And 90% of my time is working with clients or working on the program.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I've got to pay my bills. You know, when a lot of people say, can we do contra? It's like, well, do you want to ring Suncorp? And if they take that as my mortgage payment, I'm good.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But they'll say no. So I need money. But I think that's the other part too, where you sort of go, well, if you can do part of that, and I do a 4-hour power meeting based on my old clients who, when I rang them and they weren't doing anything, have you done XYZ? No, I haven't. So I tap into them. And that was literally because one of my clients said, well, can I pay you just to help me with this one little thing and not as an ongoing? And that became a product for me. And I think I think to be paid for what you do shouldn't be the way you measure your worth, but you should respect yourself enough to be paid for what you do.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and I think that's the thing about working for yourself. I think if somebody is exploring it, they should learn how to do it properly first and not make the mistakes we've all made. And I think that's the thing that I really like about what you're doing, because you are talking about the money. So many of these courses don't talk about how to make money. They talk about how to get followers, how to build your website, how to, you know, MPVs. But it's like, hang on a minute, MVP, sorry. But hang on a minute, at the end of the day, how do I make some money to put into my pocket to give me that freedom? And I think that's you've got to be realistic. At the end of the day, if you're not getting paid and paying your bills, you're working in your hobby. Yes. And that's your hobby that you should do on the weekends. So
well, no, look, I know people who have paid for some pretty, you know, $10,000 plus programs, and there's a lot of other stuff that's done, but how to actually make money is not part of it. Absolutely. And for me, if I was to spend $10,000 plus on a program, the only reason I would do it is because I want a return on my investment.
Absolutely.
I want that $10,000 to turn into $20,000, or else I wouldn't do it. I don't want to just learn about the spiritual side or the emotional side or how to get followers, like you're saying. No, I don't really care about that. I mean, I do care about that, and it is important stuff, but I want money, or else, or else I'm going to... And that's the thing, and I see that a lot around Bondi, where people really do. They serve. They create these great community events. They do all sorts of wonderful things for people, but they don't get paid. And there's only a certain amount of years that someone can sustain something like that. And the saddest part about it is that the message that that person is actually trying to get out to the world, it withers down, and they end up having to either get a job, or they end up having to take a client that's, compromises the values of their mission, or whatever it might be. And then that beautiful message gets lost because they haven't been taught how to charge properly, or they haven't been taught how to position their product or service in a way that shows value for the customer, that enables them to put money down.
Or to be able to say no, right? Because that's the other thing too. Like,
no, yes.
how is that? I find that's the hardest thing. It was hard for me to do, but the hardest thing to get my clients to go, you know what? That's not your customer. That's not your customer. That person who won't pay you that price is somebody else's customer. And I think that's the thing for that person to go, you can give, and that's how I've sort of segmented it in my head, that by the end of the year, I'd like to have my 1 day a week where I give, not for business, not for pleasure, I give to a charity. And Oz Harvest for me is one that I think is amazing, and they definitely can use my skill set, and so for me, I've gone, that's what I want to do for that day. That's my charity day. I used Social Media Women. I used to organise a monthly event, which it's coming back, folks, because there is a need, obviously. It is coming back. But that's, I was saying to you, the things that I said, I'd never start a website. I'd never start websites for people doing that. I'd never do an online store again, but I'm doing that for my Innovation Pitch Fest Australian Designers. And I'd never do a monthly event again. Well, with my monthly, because the need's there. But that was my charity, and people used to always go, "Do you get paid?" It's like, you know what? This is my giving back, because it was. It was a lot of time to organise and a lot of effort. But for me, that was my giving back.
Yeah, cool.
And that was my place where, if you wanted to talk to me, come there. So structure it. If you structure it in a way where it makes sense, and it is good for your energy and good for your pocket, because that's the other thing too. Like you said,
it's a lead generator.
If you get, I never used it for that. Ironically, all those years ago. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I never even thought about it because I was too busy being a good girl.
Well, that's what
Not
meetups
anymore.
is. Meetups is still around, and people might put on a meetup, but really, what they're looking for is clients. And even though that's actually against the rules in meetups, you're not supposed to be looking for clients when you run a meetup. It's supposed to be just for fun and community.
But you know what?
I've never been to a meetup that hasn't been about client acquisition.
A couple of my friends have met their partners on Meetup, which is also very good. Can I just say, highly recommend. Better than Tinder.
Interesting.
I reckon that should be our next disruption model, because I know so many great single people.
Somebody told me that we actually choose our mate by their pheromones, by smell.
Really?
And there's this new business where they actually send out a warn, like I'll wear a T-shirt for a day, I'll send it to them, they'll send it to people, and they smell it, and they've had a lot of success, apparently.
Really?
Just matching smells with people. Interesting.
I'm going to get that link, girls, and pass it on. You know who you are. Like, I know so many great...
I'll send you a box of shirts.
We'll sell the shirts and then send them back on. I know. Look, I met my partner through an app.
Yeah,
We
cool.
did. It was like, how else do you meet people? And we we would never have met if not for that.
Yeah.
That app. And
hey, you know what? I just want to stop you there,
Yeah,
because
of
we've got 3 minutes left.
Yes,
And I just
okay.
want to say, what are the top 3 things? 3 1-minute nuggets. Can you about someone in business? Let's sum it up with a nice punchy little finale.
Be open.
3 things to do.
Be open. Be open to the fact that there's other ways to do things. Know who your customer is and talk to them, and value your community and colleagues around you. Build a great network around you, because then that's your advisory board.
Interesting.
So if you're open, you'll learn, and you'll learn from what you're doing. If you know who your customer is and talking to them, they're going to tell you what you want. And if you've got that great support system around you, then you're going to be able to do things that may be out of your comfort or skill set.
Yes.
That's
I like all of those. Number 3, the one about nurturing or building a network. One thing I've done over the last 5 months, I think it's been, I collected a group of guys that I admire, that I look up to, and I invited them to breakfast. And we've ended up having breakfast every Saturday for the last 5 months. And it's a really rock-solid support group. And you know what? And I've actually suggested to a few other people that they do the same. Find some people that we're a product of the people we spend most time around, right? So why not pick those people? Why not be conscious of what you're creating in your life, and proactively select people that you want to be like or be more around and become more of. It's so simple. And
Magic
what's
happens
interesting?
then, doesn't it?
When you ask those people, everybody wants to go out to breakfast on a Saturday. In fact, I think most people would like to have a consistent Saturday breakfast.
Yeah.
And you just got to be the one that puts it together.
Yeah.
And it's been such a wonderful part of my life. And I really respect these guys. I really appreciate their time. And we have so much fun. But on top of having so much fun, or underneath having so much fun, we're actually really we're looking out for each other.
Yeah, I
and
like
we really
it.
do care. And it's become a really important part of my life. So I recommend you give that a shot if you're up for it.
I like it.
And anyone out there listening, just think about who would be your favourite people to have breakfast with, perhaps on a Saturday or whatever day is appropriate to you, and just reach out and ask them, and keep asking.
What's
and
funny?
keep asking.
What
and keep asking.
I have different groups that I've done that with on and off, but I have Xavier, Tony, and Barbara. You know who you are. We've just started that, and we're going to record our lunches, like our little nuggets, and release them, and just
Absolutely.
brainstorm around them.
Yeah,
but
great.
I like the idea of the Saturday because we sort of try and fit it into our schedule.
Yeah.
But I like that idea because I think they're the people too that like I call them my brains trust, and I've got
Yes.
a group of Lena, Charlie, Chrissy, Magda. You know who you are. They are literally my brains trust. I'll go. I'm thinking about this. What do you guys think about this name? Or hey, can you just quickly read this blog post for me? And
Sure.
and they give me that feedback, and they
Yeah.
give me honest feedback. And sometimes people are busy and don't give it, which is fine. But then somebody's got your back, and I think
Yes.
that's valuable. I think that's good for you also to be able to have that safety net. Yeah.
And it's that's
my
what a
trick.
lot of the most influential people in the history of Earth have done. They've had a mastermind group, Knights Templar, for example, and many other groups, Abraham Lincoln, and so on and
Yes.
so on. So look, it's been a wonderful day.
Yay!
I've really enjoyed
Thank
your
you.
company.
Me too, Stacey.
Thank
So
you,
nice
Nancy.
to finally do this. Thanks,
And,
guys, for listening.
Out there in the other world, the other side of the world, remember today is Tuesday, so I implore you to please just give something a shot. Choose something big. Choose something that's outside your comfort zone, something that you know might make today one of those special days in your past. In the
Love it.
future, you look back and this is the day that you took that big stand. Today is Tuesday. So make today a day worth remembering and go and do something big.
Yay!
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Thanks so
Rock
much,
and roll,
Stacey.
girl.
Thanks, guys.
See
Connect
you guys
with me.
next Tuesday.
Ciao, ciao.